It's the week of flashback, fellas. First we get Andreas's villain origin story, and now the story of how Eda Clawthorne met the effortlessly cool Raine Whispers. Not gonna lie, I thought this episode would be the one that has a B-plot with Steve since he was shown on a bike for an upcoming episode, and bikes of course have brakes. But nah, this episode was completely dedicated to the RAEDA origin story, which was definitely the more optimal play after watching, I think. The story stemmed from Eda trying to cheer up Luz. She's been trying to figure out how to complete the incomplete glyph drawings from Philip Woodbane's diary in hopes of them helping with making her own portal door, but she's had no luck. She still, of course, misses her mom even more so after the last episode. Luz is, of course, super eager to hear the story, as was I. The first half of the story mainly consists of how Eda got to the event where she meets Raine. She and Lilith are on their way to Hexside for a day of learning. This day was specifically stated to be around 7 months before the Emperor's Coven tryouts, so Eda's cursing wasn't going to be happening until way later that year. I could be wrong, but it felt like I could see some of Lilith's jealousy of Eda's skills / smarts was showing when Eda answered that flashcard questioning that Lilith didn't specify on. Of course, this jealousy continued to fester for the next 7 months, eventually leading to the curse. Sag. When they eventually reach the campus, we see a ton of familiar faces of present-day characters, but as young teens. We see Gus's father, Perry, talking to someone on the ground. He's also wearing Oracle track clothes, but since he's a news reporter now, I guess he decided to not continue his Oracle studies to the point where he'd want to join the Oracle Coven. Also, Basha's moms, I think? That brings an interesting aspect to the conflict between Willow and Basha, because even though they couldn't get along, they both have gay parents. Just one's a pair of men and the other woman. Lastly, there's Alador, Odalia, and Darius playing around with abomination magic on the front steps, enjoying a laugh together at that. So Darius and Alador were actually friends at one point. They weren't day one enemies after all. I really hope we get to learn what happened between those two at some point. I'm sure the show won't go too into detail due to the unfortunate fact that there aren't that many episodes left in the series, but it'd be nice if they're able to bury whatever hatchet is still out there in order to stop the Day of Unity / defeat Bellows. I'll get more into that later in the video. The bell rings, causing several students to be late and the past principal to give them detention. Principal Faust was quite the authoritarian principal, expelling students for insane things such as a kid's shoes being too squeaky or chewing too loud. Principal Bump was the vice principal during this time and clearly wasn't a fan of how his superior conducted himself, but since Faust was his superior, he had to suck it up for the most part. I'm very glad this guy is no longer Hexside staff because there's no shot Luz would have been allowed at Hexside if this guy was still in charge. Absolutely not. Eda and Lilith notice the bell and try to sneak in using a secret entrance. Lilith makes it in, but Eda gets caught by Faust before she gets her chance. She gets called to his office and he threatens to expel her after being tired of all of her bad behavior at school, unless she partakes in a program with Principal Bump called IFWAT, aka Instructing the Future Witches of Tomorrow, where she needs to bring back a blue ribbon to prove she passed the activities going on there. The main proctor for this program is none other than Terra Snapdragon, the Plant Coven leader. I knew she was on the older side, but damn, I didn't expect her to be around the same age as Bump, if not older. She's gotta be at least in her low 70s at this point. And Terra was still the head of the Plant Coven during this time too. It's kind of impressive how she stayed a Coven head for all this time, you know, just goes to show how capable of a witch she is. Also want to quickly mention that both of Willow's dads attended this IFWAT that Eda was at, Gilbert being a Glandus representative and Harvey was a St. Epiderm representative. Eda's not doing super well during these challenges at first, failing the Trust Fall in particular and scaring other participants with her bones prank. After Eda gets sad after that failure, a young Raine shows up, noticing Eda's bad mood and offers to make her off-brand water taste better. Notice the parallels between Eda and Raine's first meetup and the conversation that Amity and Luz had in the episode convention. Very, very similar, and I think the exact same locations actually. They use a bard magic whistle on the top of the cup to do this. Very cool how bard magic can be used by not just instruments, but by simply whistling too. If just whistling is enough to cast a bard spell, I think it's safe to assume singing or even humming are enough to do some kind of spell if Raine or another bard user wanted to. Fingers crossed we get to see Raine sing for a spell in a future episode, that'd be sick. Raine's not having much fun either. It's their third time at IFWAT and they're tired of the same boring activities and same boring faces. Eda's chaotic energy is just what they need. Thus, a beautiful friendship, eventually turning into a romantic one, was born. For the rest of the activities, the two of them are able to bring a mix of goofiness and correctness to them, earning good looks from the other side proctors. The two of them continue to bond, even creating their own unique dance. Eda learns the only reason Raine comes to IFWAT is because of how expensive St. Epiderm is. If they continue to earn ribbons, they get a scholarship. Bro, I felt so bad for Bump right here. I know for a fact I'm not the only one who saw someone waving in my direction in real life, and then I waved back only to find out their wave wasn't for me. It actually one of the most uncomfortable feelings. The closing ceremony begins with Terra raining on everyone's parade, no pun intended. She thinks the challenges everyone partook in weren't challenging enough, so she decides to throw in one last surprise challenge before handing any ribbons out. It's essentially a game of cops and robbers inside a dangerous plant maze Terra created, with Eda and Raine on opposing sides. I didn't expect Terra to have such a sadistic side to herself, but I kinda like it. Like, yeah, she was fucking with Kiki a bit and Follies at the Coven Day Parade, but in this episode, she's unironically talking about grinding up the IFWAT crop failures into mulch for her garden and getting a joyous kick out of it. Only thing stopping her was an Emperor's Coven crony telling her that was illegal. At the start, Eda's just playing on the defensive until other kids from her team find her. They suggest targeting Raine first since they're the strongest one of the opposing team. With them out of the way, taking care of the rest of the kids should be easy. Eda, of course, hesitates since Raine's the only one who gave Eda the time of day at Ifwant, but the other two kids essentially force Eda into helping them. I liked how Terra referred to Raine as Sprout when they were the only witch left too. Pretty cool how that's been a nickname Terra's had for Raine since 20-something years ago. The two kids Eda was forced to work with eventually corner Raine until Eda turns on them to save her friend. Though Terra thinks it's Eda trying to get a one-on-one fight with Raine, this is where the clip of Eda running with a balled fist comes from, and we learn it wasn't genuine rage Eda or Raine was feeling. They were playing it up until they got close enough to fist bump each other, leading into the two of them performing a spell aimed at Terra, though she blocks it well enough where only her hair received minor damage. But believe it or not, Terra respects their feistiness, thinking witches like them make the best leaders, especially Raine, having a little Darius moment of her own. Even still, she can't accept the two of them going against the rules, so she decides to punish the entire group by not handing out any ribbons. Luckily, she overhears Bump worried about Eda's expulsion, so she says she'll talk to Faust about keeping Eda at Hexside, with her being a budding prodigy and all. Cut back to Hexside's cafeteria with Eda eager to tell Lilith about her time at Ifwant. But Lilith blows her story off for their study group. I wonder why she's studying so hard. Surely not threatened by her younger sister, right? Oh, surprise, surprise, Raine's transferred to Hexside, which was expected since in their pictures together with Eda, they were wearing a Hexside uniform. They're even the reason Eda loves Appleblood so much. That's actually adorable. It all worked out for their fam too because they were never a fan of how cold it was on the Titan's knee. The flashback ends with Eda saying the two of them were inseparable from then on, looking into the sky, hoping Raine is alright. The episode ends with Raine at the Emperor's castle with Terra. Terra gives them another brainwashing potion, but lo and behold, Raine used their whistle spell on it, meaning they were never brainwashed to begin with. They were putting on an act during the entirety of Follies at the Coven Day Parade. Imagine how hard it must have been for them to do that. They arguably might have felt worse than Eda did at that time when they were fighting. All of this just to protect Eda. Not only that, but Darius seems to be in cahoots with Raine, seeing as a mini abomination with his hairstyle gave Raine a drawing on what would happen on the Day of Unity, which is a draining spell involving 9 powerful witches, aka the Coven leaders, with the spell center being around the head of the Titan. If this means what I think it means, Belos, aka Philip, wants magic as a whole to be drained from the Isles, and maybe it'll be activated via the Coven sigils on people's arms. Still can't believe his hatred towards witches stemmed from Lilith punching him in the face. I'm sure that's not the sole reason, but it definitely helped make a case for his plans. Also, with Darius likely being in cahoots with Lilith, that brings up more of a possibility of him and Alador bearing the hatchet in order to work together to defeat Belos, or help defeat Belos. This might be a reach, but part of me thinks the Construction Coven leader might be in on it too. I say that because the mini abomination came out of a castle brick that Raine knocked on. It's possible this guy planned out safe routes throughout the castle so Darius can get his messages across. I wonder what other Coven leaders may be on their side and we just don't know yet. Fingers crossed that the Potion Coven leader is, please God. And apparently the only way to counter the draining spell is with Eda, but like I said, Raine doesn't want to put her in danger. But I wonder why Eda's the only one who can counter it. Like, because Eda can't really use magic like that anymore. She's had to basically relearn from scratch with glyphs. I wonder if it has something to do with the curse, which would be more of a reason to bring the Collector into the story. But like I said, Raine doesn't want to put Eda in danger, so they decide they're going to have to figure something else out. What a sick episode, man. Let me know what y'all thought about it in the comments below and how it's compared to other episodes released during Season 2B. I would love to know your thoughts. Of course, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like down below. It helps out a ton. But for now, I will see you guys next time. Peace out. Take care. Bye-bye.